All right, welcome back, everybody, to the That's God podcast. My name is Dave Burr, and I get to be your host. And today I am here with Alyson and Vincent Cork, and we are here at the Food Blessing in Arlington, Washington. And this is such a cool thing, and I can't wait to share this story with you guys. Alyson, you're the executive director.
I am.
And Vincent, you are the president of the board of Salt of the Earth.
That's correct.
Right? And that's the organizational name for all the food blessings, of which I think there are 5 main ones. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So don't want to jump ahead of the story, but you guys just doing awesome work here. So
Thank you.
I want to go back to the whole thing started, I think, in 1992. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lady in Everett by the name of Sandra Richards, who I think had I don't know if it was a vision, but she just saw a need to help 5 kids.
Yeah, there was actually a friend of hers. She was in her 80s, and she was running a Bible study for a group of youth in in Everett. And she had asked Sandy to provide some sack lunches because we know that we learn better when we are fed.
Okay, yeah.
And so she started with, 5 to 7 sack lunches, and that group grew to 10, and it grew to 20, and it grew to 30, and it was a little bit hard on her pocketbook, and so
because she was buying all the food.
Yeah. So she approached one of the grocery stores and asked them if they'd be willing to donate some sandwich bread and some meat and cheese, and they're like, actually, our food bank just quit picking up on us, and she's like, if you'd like to pick up for 7 days a week, it's all yours. And
Wow.
She was like, okay.
That's overwhelming.
That is overwhelming. And so that's kind of how Salt of the Earth came to birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how we roll. Just say yes.
Yeah. And so you guys got involved 5 years ago?
It was 2018, October-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it October 2000? Yeah, it was. 2018.
And at that point, did this distribution center exist?
No, it did not.
So then how did you get involved with the Salt of the Earth to begin with? And what was your calling? Because I think this is really cool. The part of this story is I want to share is I think a lot of people have a dream that of doing something. You know, they want to help the kingdom of God. They want to build the kingdom of God here on earth. They have a dream or a vision, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to get started. Mm-hmm. So I want to find out, how did you guys get started? Because it's just blown up since then. So
So we were actually coming off of a dream. And interject anytime you want, honey.
Okay, no problem.
We were coming off of a dream. We had been serving in the mission field for 7 years in South America.
Yeah.
And so we had just recently returned to the United States, and we had sold everything. We had sold our house, so we had nowhere to land when we came back. And my sister...
We did that on purpose.
Yeah.
We did it on purpose. I knew that if we had our house, we'd go back to exactly where we were. I'm not saying that was anything wrong with it, but I was like, I didn't want that to be an anchor where we had to go too. So
a
year before we came back, we sold everything.
Yeah, so we were living with my sister at the time, and we were kind of in a transition period for 3 months, not knowing what our next steps were going to be, and still receiving our missionary salary, which we had raised on our own, which helped us survive in South America, but not in the state of Washington. Mm-hmm. And we got connected with some people here that did a gleaning on Tuesdays in Snohomish. And so we went and checked that out, and it was amazing. And my sister came with me, and she's like, this is amazing. Just all this beautiful produce and artesian bread and good cheeses, all for free. And my sister really is the one that had the heart that said, we need something like this in Smoky Point. Yeah. It was her. She's a go-getter. Yeah. And I'm like, absolutely, we'll work on this together. And so it was her that brought this to Smoky Point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but almost accidentally, didn't she? I mean, she talked to the guy that was kind of in charge at the time of like finding stores, driving the truck, and then didn't he call her up like one Saturday, like, "Hey, I got your stores.
Got
for
your
you?
Stores all ready for you next Saturday?" And she's like, "What? Well, okay."
Like these are grocery stores that are ready to offer their food to you.
Yeah, on a Saturday, right? Because they were so Salt of the Earth was in existence already, so they were doing their thing already. They were doing their distributions, and that was one of them. The Tuesday that they went to experience was one that was in existence already, and which was the Hope Church in Snohomish. And then, so they he had the Saturday opening, and so he's like, well, Smoky Point works. Someone asked for interest, and I think that's kind of probably what ran through his head. I've never asked Dan really the fine details. But then, yeah, Dan called up Riva with these stores, and she was kind of like, what did I just commit myself to?
Yeah, and so for a very short time, we were meeting under the awning over at Smoky Point Community Church, and it was October and it was cold.
Yeah.
I was very pregnant at the time.
Yep.
And we were just going in our personal vehicles, picking up the food, and then nobody knew about it. So it was hard to, get the word out. And we met some amazing people that did food ministries that would just kind of hang out and take the leftovers and make marmalade and all sorts of stuff with the leftovers. And then after a couple weeks of that and dealing with the rain and the cold, my sister had found out about Life Church 360 having this location where we're sitting right now. And we met with Pastor Matt, and it was really, really cool.
Did Riva just go, or did you go as well?
I went as well.
You did? Okay.
Yep. We came over to talk to Matt, and he said, this is so awesome. Like, we want this building to be used, and it's being used practically every day of the week. And we were praying for something for Saturday because there was nobody using the building on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so it was a shoe-in. We were a shoe-in. And they just gave us a whole bunch of space to utilize on Saturdays and a little closet to put some of our items in. And it has exploded since that moment.
Yeah.
Now we've taken over like a quarter of the building, so they've been really gracious.
Yeah. Well, it's grown as your ministry has grown, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing too, that God's will keep supplying you as long as you are following your dream and his goal for you and his plan for you.
Well, I don't even know if it was our dream. I mean, that's just it.
No.
It's just
true.
It's obedience is what it is. It's what he gave us. And the characteristics that he asks of his followers.
That's a better word. Yeah, obedience. Yeah,
obedience, because I wouldn't have asked in a million years for a food ministry.
And I would not have asked to be in leadership either.
Yeah. It's where it's just us being obedient to what he seems to be opening the doors to. So it's we can't say no.
Yeah. And I think it's all God's plans, but like us being in the mission field totally changed our outlooks, totally changed our hearts.
Yeah.
Totally changed
our
way
really
of
prepared you for this, right?
Yeah, thinking and how we live and
the mentality,
and what our purpose is. And so, with us being bilingual from being in South America and starting with this ministry, being able to connect with people that spoke purely Spanish, you could just see their whole body, their whole demeanor relax as somebody could communicate with them.
Yeah.
And so for us to be able to use that tool that we gained in the mission field here, like we're just continuing on mission work here.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we stepped into it. Really, it was a Saturday thing, and then and her sister couldn't make the complete every week or whatever. But I think I started helping the second week. Or
you're like, this is awesome.
This is fun, and it's just like I'm kind of one of those guys that doesn't like to receive anything free. So I'm like, I got to do something. I got to help some way. I'll feel better if I go pick up the food at least.
Yeah,
that's how I.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so I enjoyed that part of it. And then it's just amazed me, like some of this stuff would be going in the garbage. So, because they give us the food that's at date or sell by date, and so, which still has a little life left, especially if you give it to people in need who need it right away.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're totally.
And then my background is being administrative assistant for the CEO of the ministry that we were with in South America for over 10 years and wearing a lot of different hats as well. But I was really used to reporting on numbers and graphs and doing all that work for the CEO. And so I kind of naturally wanted to do that for Salt of the Earth and our particular distribution here in Smoky Point for people that were providing space and people who were volunteering and people who were donating to know the impact of what they're doing.
And show our appreciation.
Yeah. And so after, I think, the first full year that we were here, I made this beautiful one-page thing that just said how many pounds that we had brought in, how many people we had served, how many gallons of gas we had spent picking up the food. And
because it's not a cheap thing to do.
No.
Yeah.
No, we spend about $1,000, a little over $1,000 a month in gas.
Yeah.
Currently,
Currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had provided that sheet to the church and to other donors and things. And the gentlemen that were running Salt of the Earth at the time, which was, they're from Midnight Cry Church in Snohomish, Steve, Marth, and Mike.
Richards? No. Mike. I'm sorry, Mike.
Steve Marth, and Mike Bryan.
Okay.
So they were kind of keeping Salt of the Earth afloat because Sandy had retired, and they'd had it for several years. And he was like, "This is great, but like, we want it for all of Salt of the Earth." And
you guys are just one cog in the wheel.
Yeah. We didn't really have an understanding of the whole scope of Salt of the Earth. And so I think from that moment on, there became a grooming process started because they were confirmed by the Lord that this is the couple that was going to be taking over Salt of the Earth.
Yeah. Wow.
Because they just, the father's just like, keep it alive. That's what he always,
keep it alive.
Yeah. Steve's a really awesome guy. And he always calls, he speaks God, the father. Yeah. It's like the father says, it's not yours. It's not ours. It's not ours. We're just supposed to maintain it. Just keep it afloat. And since he's a full-time EMT and a pastor, he's, he basically does triage. So every little emergency that'd come in, he would just kind of like treat it like emergency.
Yeah.
But,
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid, and then but if something else happened, like he couldn't devote full attention, so he would do what he could as quick as he could because he had
running.
So many hats
the food
on.
Going in
And he was trying to be obedient to the Lord in it, and he was, and so he understood that he was supposed to give it to a couple. And then when they saw our Saturday distribution, where we were continuing to try and give the word, pray with people, and do food, he's like, well, that's a ministry. That's not just a food. That's not just a food bank. He's like, that's a ministry at that point, is how he felt about it. So
So Vincent, what you do every Saturday is you write up something from your heart that you want to share with everybody, and then you also translate it into Spanish.
Yes, I do my best to do that. Sometimes I have someone else translate it. Sometimes the translation doesn't happen,
sometimes
and then
Google
once
does
in a
it
while,
for 'em.
And once in a while, Saturdays don't happen because I'm driving or something else, or a late night or something. Yeah.
But what's also cool is there are a lot of Spanish speaking people that are participating on Saturdays.
Yes.
And so
volunteers and guests.
Yeah. And so while you're giving instructions on what to do for the day or whatever, Vincent, you're over there like, all right, hold on. And then, she said a whole paragraph, 2 paragraphs, and you're like, hold on. And then you will translate for the Spanish speaking people. And I thought, what a cool thing that is. And it's just a vibrant atmosphere, from what I could see. So very cool. So let's talk about Saturday mornings. So the food distribution here starts at noon, but things start a whole lot earlier than that.
Yeah.
So
you want to talk about his wake-up time, or you want to talk about the truck departure time? He's committed.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Well, I had an opportunity to go with you a couple of weeks ago in your truck, and so my wake-up time was later than yours, but I was here at 8 o'clock, and we piled in a truck, and actually have a little interview that we'll take a listen to right here. All right, good morning, everybody. We are in a van headed to somewhere to pick up food for the food blessing this morning.
Yep.
So, Vincent, tell us where we're headed off to.
We're going to stop at 4 stores. We're one of 2 trucks that are running this morning. There's another one out. So our 4 stops will be Sprouts and Mill Creek, and then there is Town and Country, also in Mill Creek, and there's a Safeway in Mill Creek, and then we'll head up a little bit to Albertsons that's recently changed to the Safeway. Then we'll be on our way back. So all goes well, we should be back in Smoky Point by 11:15.
Yeah. Yep, and it's 8 o'clock right now, and we're just getting started. So how long have you been working with these different grocery stores?
Originally, we just did 3 stores, and then I think it was 3, and then we added a 4th. Might have been 2 when we added 3. I can't remember. It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we just kept adding. So 4, and then 5, and 6, and 7, and then 8.
All right, then when we got back, it was probably close to 11 o'clock, I'm guessing, something like that.
Yeah, 11. It's interesting. Depends on the traffic, depends on what the stores have. 11 to 11:30, we're doing good.
Yep,
By then.
And then it's a madhouse getting ready by noon.
Yep.
And but if I remember right, there was already at least 1 car in line at 8 o'clock in the morning when we were here.
It's pretty usual to do that,
Yeah, and then by the time we got back, the line is all the way around this building by then, and it's people are ready and hungry, and it's just an amazing thing. So I can't remember do you remember how many pounds you talked about? How many pounds that you guys of food or distribute out of here on a yearly basis or whatever? But do you remember, like, on an average week, we went to 4 stores. What would we collect?
And the other truck went to 4 stores.
Yes,
you guys were not the only truck.
Yes,
on Saturdays we have a very big pickup.
Yeah, yeah. We went one direction. Another truck's going another direction. And so, what's the overall collection, do you think, for an average
Saturday?
week? Yeah,
I would guess we're pushing 2,000 pounds. Probably that would be pretty normal. I would think.
Plus all the supplemental stuff that I get during the week that gets added to that.
So it's really hard to like really fine tune it to say what goes out that day. But I mean, we can look at the weights that we picked up. We could add that all together. I don't think we have an average right now. We sort of lose time to do all the little details.
Yeah.
So but my guess would be, safe guess would 15 to 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
it's amazing.
Yeah, 1,500.
And then you look at the prices that are on that food, and it's like, this is thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars that you guys get to give away
for free.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't get much better than that, does it?
No, well, you freely get, you freely receive, freely give.
Yeah.
I heard that somewhere.
Yeah,
Someone
somewhere.
smart.
So we are sitting right now. We're in your storehouse, and you can, from the looks of it, it looks like a warehouse in here type thing.
Pretty much.
And,
Always under construction.
Yes,
or as of late.
Ever changing.
Yeah.
ever changing, and trucks are going to come in at any time and at any day, and you're going to be. Things are just going to be moving in here.
In and out.
Yeah.
In and out. Mm-hmm.
And so I know one of your volunteers has another kind of mission that she does, and she started volunteering, and she was asking people, do you need anything else? And I think she was thinking like food or whatever. She was talking to somebody in a car, and they're like, well, I need a jacket. And she's like, well, I don't have one here this week, but come back next week. And I'll have one for you. And so she goes to the Goodwill, and she buys what they need, and next week, then she supplies that need. Yeah. Well, there's actually a little cubby hole here now that has, well, what kind of stuff is in there?
Yeah, Janine's room it's a clothing closet. It has hygiene items in it: shoes, coats, hats, scarves, gloves, sleeping bags, blankets, hand warmers. And she even has stored in there in the cold months when we serve the community. She provides hot cocoa, sometimes biscuits and gravy.
So she'll be out there with a little cart, almost like a flight attendant, just going down with hot cocoa, biscuits and gravy.
She has her heart goes out to people that are on the streets. And to provide them something hot on those days is.
Yeah. So she really likes to care for the walk-ups, the people on walk-ups. And not all of our walk-ups are homeless or
without a car.
But some of them are without a car. They're saving gas, so they might walk over, or they come on the bus since we're really close to a bus station. So it's been such a blessing to be in this location on Saturdays because they're like.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, one building over, and they're coming from the bus station. And also the hotel, the Motor Inn, that a lot of time does vouchers, and people really hard up on life, and a lot of bad things happen over there. But one benefit is that the people that can't afford things or doesn't have jobs and are temporary housed over there, they can come over and get food.
Yeah.
So we do serve quite a few homeless in this community as well.
Yeah, we do. And then like some of the people in the cars through the line are living in their cars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another need that's being met. And so she has this heart for it. I'm like, well, what do you need? And so it kind of develops. And she can't be here every Saturday. So sometimes when she finds a like-hearted person or spirit, she like grabs onto them like this, and then they get excited and doing the same thing, and they can't always be here. So sometimes there's a hole, but lots of times it's covered, and so it's just really fun to watch.
It's fun too. The same thing that happened here with us and Life Church 360 is we gave Janine a corner of another room that we have here, and then she got a wall, and now she has almost the whole room.
So it's just fun watching that evolve, because we see like-minded hearts and minds, and then we grab onto it, and we want to support that. So it's like, we can't commit to that, but if you want to run that part of it, absolutely.
Well, and what a great opportunity for people who maybe didn't even know that was going to be their ministry, but when they come here, they develop that they have a heart, and you guys are like,
she organized a food closet. That was it. That's
how
that
she
her
started.
first thing? Yeah, she organized
the
cans,
pantry.
turned all the cans the same label.
Okay.
And then like put all the
pantry, yeah.
Oh yeah. So she put like the tomato sauces here, the pasta there.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Made it all look nice. And then who knew that she was ready to talk to people.
Yeah.
And love on them like that. So
she just wanted to be an in behind the scenes person, and turns out that's not who she is.
Nope.
Yep.
Yeah,
So, well, yeah, I can imagine that pantry gets turned inside out every week.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It goes, it comes in, it goes, it comes in, it goes, and So what else I think is pretty cool is so your big deal is Saturdays here, but people like Janine, other people, they start branching out and they find that there's a need at these various senior locations, and Warm Beach is one. My parents used to live there, so that's very close to my heart. And I don't know how long ago it wasn't very long ago, but she started setting up food distribution there. And what I was thinking when I was coming here is like, you guys could have said, hey, look, Saturday, you're just a day away from our big thing, so we're going to give you some Pop-Tarts and and that's it. But you don't do that. You go, hey, whatever the need is, fill up your car, take whatever you need, go for it.
Yep.
And God's going to bless what he's going to bless.
He just continues everything we pour out of here. He just pours back in.
Yeah.
Which is, I love that piece.
Yeah. We it's weird because at first you're kind of like, well, maybe I need to save a little bit for this. And I found out really early, like I used to stress when I go pick up, like oh, do we need to pick some of that out of the compost? Or like, man, that's really good fruit. Like, oh man, there won't be enough. And like, oh shoot, we only got one cart today. And like you'd carry stress that wasn't necessary. I don't be like,
it's not yours to carry.
And then I'd get there and I'm like, oh wait, there's not that many people today. And then the following week's like, oh, there's a lot. And then I'm like, oh man, I don't know if we're going to get rid of all this. And then that many people came in, and I'm like, I'm starting to realize all we have left over is bread. And I'm like, well, Jesus even did that. He had leftover bread in his story. So I'm like, I think we're doing okay.
You have 12 baskets full every Saturday.
Yeah, well, like 7 on the one time, 12 on the other. So I'm like, it's okay if we have bread left over.
So many times too, our volunteers that load the boxes in the cars for this drive-through location, we're like, okay, what do we have left? 8 boxes. Go out and count the cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like so many times. It's just on the nose.
Yeah. And so what I found is to give that to him right away early in the ministry. And I'm glad I did, because I think I could have been like worn out thinking that there's not. So I'm glad I was like at least attentive enough to realize that God's going to provide. Yeah. And I think that really helped shape our mentality as far as, and I still work on it sometimes, like, oh, I really like that. Maybe I want some of that. Is there going to be any left or whatever? And we always have what we need too, because if we didn't take from the food blessing, Alyson wouldn't be able to donate as much time as she does. Yeah. I mean, she receives a small stipend, but some of that is some of the donors that came with her from some of the partners in ministry that came with her from the other nonprofit that we work for, the ministry, when it came back from South America. They just kind of stayed with us. Oh, nice. And then so some of that, we have a little bit of that money that comes in that helps offset that stipend. And it's pretty, I don't want to say what she makes per hour.
Well, pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. So anyways, it's not very much, but the whole thing is though, but if we can take some food from that and then be a single income family, she can donate a huge amount of time to keep this going, as bless so many others. Yeah. So we just feel like that's the kingdom mentality, is take what you need, not abundance or excess, and be wise with what you have, and then just bless others and watch God continue to pour in. Don't have to save necessarily for a rainy day, which sounds really anti-Western, anti-American. You always save for a rainy day. You always have to. You got to buy insurance. You got to have this. You got to have that nest egg.
Always
you
be prepared.
Yeah. You got to stock your pantry for World War III. You know what I mean? So it's like, what we found out is like, Alyson's really good. It's just like in and out. I'm like, wow, I'm glad you're doing it, not me, because I don't know that like go that easy. But she's learned, and it's amazing to watch her administrate well. And that's always my prayers for her, is that she administrates well. And she's been doing amazing, I think. Yeah. Because I can't be here all the time, but she can. Yeah. So it's really cool.
Yep. So we started off talking about Sandy, the start of this thing in 1992, and so it sounds like
she's back.
She's back.
She's back.
So what's going on there?
Yeah. So Sandy, first of all, I just want to she's the most amazing lady I may have ever met. And we are 2 peas in a pod. She's like, you're me when I was that age. And I'm like, I want to be you when I'm your age. And so we just have a really, really tight bond. And
because when she started, she was a little bit older than us. I mean, she was in her 50s, right?
Yeah.
I think.
But I was reading a newspaper article from the 1990s about the things that she was doing. I'm like, man, that lady was busy as I am.
Yeah.
So having things going on every single day of the week. And one of the things that they did pre-COVID, they had a pretty big community feed. They called it a soup kitchen at the time. And they were feeding lots and lots of people in downtown Everett.
Yeah.
And that all got shut down with COVID.
Like hot meals type thing?
Hot meals.
Wow.
Yep. And all that got shut down during COVID. And Steve Marth, the one that was previously running Salt of the Earth, he's like, we got to get that back up and running. I'm like, I do not have the bandwidth. So if God wants to rise up a champion to do that, like, absolutely we'll start it. I said, but I can't put one more thing on my plate.
Yeah.
And so Sandy stepped up to the plate and she's like, I want to do this again.
Wow. And she just turned 80.
And she just turned 80.
Yeah.
They gathered a lot of the people that did the meal previously.
Yeah.
And so they kind of have their old team back
together. They're bringing the band back together.
All
right.
Yeah. And so they're at a new location at Zion Lutheran Church the third Monday of every month.
Is that Marysville?
It is Everett.
Or Everett. Okay, yeah.
Yep, off of Everett Greenway up 43rd on Alger. And so they've been doing that. It's kind of been a slow start, just getting the word out and stuff, but they
and it's
are loving
not
it.
quite as good of a location as a previous time. The previous time they were in one of the really main...
Right downtown.
Yeah, right downtown. Yeah. So that might be part of it, but,
there may be change. We'll
maybe
see.
we can do that, build it, and they'll come sort of thing.
But I'm just so excited. She's giddy. She's absolutely giddy.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
awesome.
she's like, hey, I'm thinking about cooking this. I'm like, oh, I've got a whole bunch of that in the freezer. And God just puts those meals together and she just...
Yeah.
It's revived.
Well, yeah, you guys could be a great pantry for her, right?
Yeah, we do supply a lot for the community meal,
Yeah.
And the whole thing is that was her motto, just say yes. I mean, that was the thing. She didn't know what she was going to do with it. That's how the whole thing started. She just said yes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to that store. And then she's like, realized that she could do more. And she went knocked on another grocery store and picked up their food. And
we sat down with her and her husband, Dave, maybe last summer, and just were giggling about our stories that we were sharing back and forth about massive amounts of food that we took in that we're like, I have no idea what we're going to do with it, where we're going to store it.
Yeah.
And
but you just say yes.
You just say yes.
Right.
God's obviously providing.
Yeah.
So he's got a need.
There's a need somewhere. You don't know it yet.
Why not be the conduit, and why not be part of a miracle?
Yeah.
Is the awesome thing. I mean, we get a chance to, like, if you just say yes, I mean, you get to be used by God.
Yeah.
And then I know some people are like, well, you got to be careful how much you say yes. Yes, you do. But at the same time, it's like you're going to miss a lot.
Yeah. Use discernment, but at the same time, you got to be open to what God's calling you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, it's when you get to be answers to people's prayers, it's amazing. I mean, we see people all the time.
It's humbling.
Yeah, it's super humbling.
Oh, I can imagine.
But if you don't ever say yes, you'll never get to be that part of the kingdom, and your faith won't grow.
Yeah,
you'll get stagnant, and then you'll wonder why nothing changes around you.
So I was talking about this. The space that we've been bred with the storehouse gives us a lot more opportunity to receive large quantities.
Yeah.
As well as the donation that we received to purchase a new box truck, which without shelves in it to allow us to receive pallets, has really opened the door for us.
Yes.
So much so that we have to actually knock out part of the wall and put in a double door so that we can get pallets in it.
Yeah.
But that has brought so many amazing opportunities in to partner with different organizations within our community and beyond that are also helping people in the community in areas where we do food well.
Yeah.
Other agencies do rehab well. Other people do housing well. And so to be able to partner with those different organizations and provide a small pantry for them or provide food for meals that they're making for the community for different events, I have absolutely loved that piece of learning what other people are doing and how we can lock arms together.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the network that you guys have created. So you network obviously with the other food blessing locations, but I think you network other places too, or you have this network of grocery stores and places in Seattle where you're getting food and other things. And how does that all work?
So one of our primary food sources is through Food Lifeline, who's like a middleman between the major grocery store chains and food agencies such as ourselves. And they do all the coordination of who's going to pick up when, what time, what day, what store. When new stores come up, they have to apply for them, and they do all that organization to see who's picking up. But aside from Food Lifeline, we have a lot of wonderful partnerships that have been long-standing. One is Grocery Outlet in Claremont on Evergreen Way. The new owners there, Jerusha and her husband Spencer, are amazing and mission-minded as well. And we love what's happening. They actually, just a shout out to them, every July they do a Independence from Hunger event.
All the grocery outlets do.
All the grocery outlets do.
They get to kind of pick their own place
because
to
they're
put
independently owned. They can pick who they want to partner with. And we've been with them, even with the previous owners, for like 8-9 years. And
so before our time.
Typically they raised $25,000 to $3,000 in that month, and we have a credit at their store over $9,000 from their event this last summer. So I love that.
And so how you use that is if you have a shortage of something, you have the opportunity to go there and
get what we specifically need, which is
buy food off this credit,
which is really weird for us because we just get what we get and we don't throw a fit, right? And we use what we get, and but to be able to, like, if we receive a pallet of peanut butter, which we really need right now, and we don't have the jelly to go with it, then we use some of that credit to purchase the jelly, and then we have,
So
the
we might
stuff
be
that
going
goes
to buy
together.
peanut butter is what
The
you're saying.
spaghetti and the sauce and the tuna and the mayonnaise. So we can actually be providing stuff that people can make meals with, and so that's how we're utilizing that credit. But then there's other stores like Town and Country Market up in Mill Creek. That was another one that Sandy Richards marched right in there when they were under construction. She's like, hey, what plans do you have for the food that you need to get rid of? And we pick up that store 7 days a week. And they've been amazing partners as well. We've connected with Nature's Path up in Blaine, right by the border there, and have been getting oatmeal packets from them. So we have a lot of different avenues of where we've partnered to.
You cover a lot of ground.
We do.
Yeah. Well, and BECU even lets us. They'll even let us fundraise during their shred events.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Which has been going on for it's like a 9-year partnership.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then we have fun things like Operation TP that we've teamed up with Amazon, the Amazon campuses down in Seattle.
Which is through Food Lifeline.
Came through Food Lifeline, and so we go down once a month to downtown Seattle to 5 Amazon campuses. We pick up their leftover rolls of toilet paper because once they get down to a certain size, they have to replace a new one. And then since we're down in Seattle, we go down to Food Lifeline, and we have an opportunity to pick up more food in South Seattle. So
that's awesome.
It's busy.
All sorts of needs. Yeah, very cool. So you obviously have needs. You're growing all the time. Now, when I was here that Saturday, I want to say there was 30 or 40 volunteers. Does that sound about right?
I think our average is about 25.
Was it 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes less. I mean, sometimes there's in the teens to 25. On a good day, there might be 30.
Summers dwindle.
Yes, yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and then since we're
it's another thing I don't stress about. I program the drivers. But the volunteers, I don't have time to manage who's coming,
I think
who's
that's
not.
Awesome.
And so that's
it's all
another
on faith, isn't it?
piece that we have
absolutely.
that God's going to provide whoever we need to
we
be
started
here.
operating that. If he's going to provide the food, he'll provide the workers. If he's going to provide the workers, he provides the food, he provides the people to pick it up. So he'll provide the workers to distribute it. Is our thing. Sometimes, it's a little taxing. Like we might have not quite enough, but it gets done.
Yeah. So there's no sign-up sheet for volunteers that says, hey, next Saturday I'm going to be here.
No.
You just say, we're going to be open. If you feel led by the Lord to be here, come.
With existing volunteers, yes. If you're a brand new person, we do have a process online, a volunteer form that they need to fill out. But people who have been here, we don't say, hey, you need to be here every week or you need to be here every first Saturday. We just let the Lord do the work in that.
So if somebody wanted to volunteer, if they wanted to become a new volunteer and be part of this incredible ministry, how do they do that?
They go onto our website at SOTE, which stands for Salt of the Earth, blessings.org, and there's a volunteer button on there with some pretty basic questions just to get that process started.
Yeah.
And the thing is every once in a while, if Alyson knows, like sometimes people just write, hey, I'm not going to be there. Hey, I'm not going to be there. And then sometimes if she sees like it's a lot of key people that like kind of manage an area, then she might like put a little shout out. We have a WhatsApp group, and then she'll be kind of like, hey, like we might be a little short staffed today, so if you can come.
If you're on the fence, come.
But that's the
it.
extent of our asking. Like she might write someone specific, like, hey, are you going to be there? Just making sure.
Or if
have
we're
a
out
lead
of town.
person, or if we're out of town, then we make sure that key people are in place.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, and when people ask me, they're like, hey, I've been thinking about coming. I'm like, well, the day that you wake up and say, I should do that, that's the day you need to be there because God's got something for you.
Yeah. And
that's how I answer that. That's awesome. Like, you better show up because he woke you up with that. And that's your act of obedience because he wants to show you something.
Amen.
Yeah. And so that's how I always approach that. And so Alyson probably has a little form now to do that. So if they're brand new or whatever. But there's some people that was like, oh, I did that one time or whatever. And it's like, well, if he wakes you up again, you better come. Yeah. And that's,
Yeah.
And I find too, the volunteer group we're family. And, I don't want to put the primary focus on Salt of the Earth here in Smoky Point, but this is where we kind of live and hang out. But all of our locations are tight-knit volunteer family groups. We have great leaders at each of the locations, and they love and support on one another. And I know people here and in other locations, they're going through hard stuff just like the rest of us, and they come for an opportunity to look outside themselves and to serve others that may be in more dire straits than they are themselves, and to just receive some prayer and some hugs and some love from the volunteer family. It's huge.
Yeah. So we have, I'll try to name them out there. We got Sunday evening is in Snohomish. That's the Midnight Cry Church. They do one, and then
4:30.
Right, and then Monday's a food drop at senior housing. Okay, and then Tuesday is another distribution at the Hope Church in Snohomish, and that's where she first experienced this.
That one starts at 11:30 a.m.
Yeah, and then there on Wednesdays another food drop, but at low-income housing.
That one's the senior housing. The Monday is the low-income housing.
Okay, so I got that reversed. Sorry about that. And then Thursday is Marysville Foursquare, which is kind of the newest distribution in the family as far as official big distribution.
And their drive-through patterned off of
they came and served with us a couple Saturdays. Like, we really like your format. So like, if we do this, can we do it like that? I'm like, oh, absolutely. Yeah. So they did that, and they're doing the same thing. Like, each of the churches will go like the extra mile with how they're growing, which is super cool. And so then Friday's a Zion one, right? Zion Lutheran Everett. So, and then Saturday is here at Smoky Point. But the cool thing is like Marysville Foursquare. So they put in a container and they put in fridges and powered it, and so that they can do the food storage there.
Oh, wow.
And then like the Hope Church, they pick up extra food. And I think Marysville Foursquare does too, right?
Yep, they all.
So they go and
supplemental food.
Yeah, because they found that it's growing and growing. So their churches are buying into it. So it's not just Salt of the Earth. We're just sort of an avenue that just brings unity in the body of Christ. I mean, like, our location is maybe a little bit more unique because on a Saturday we might have volunteers from like 10 different churches. Yeah. So it's really cool to see it as a body of Christ. Yeah. And because it doesn't really happen in a church, it happens in the church office building. Yeah, right?
Yeah. But in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but everybody kind of comes to this one. I think it's probably maybe the day, Saturday. Like, more people have a weekend off, sort of thing. Yeah, it might be that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
but it's super cool. Like, all the churches kind of really grab.
Yeah. So let's talk about some big needs that you guys have. So obviously, you talked about you're spending $1,000 on gas. A month?
Yep.
Is that what it is?
That's increasing rapidly.
Yes.
Almost $5 a gallon.
When you
everybody's feeling that. Everybody's feeling that.
Yeah, the cost of gas. Plus, the more locations that you're opening, the more stores that are, the more times you say yes, you're taking that truck out there and going to go pick something up. So one of your trucks, you mentioned you have a fairly new truck.
Well, and 2007. Yeah, that's our newest in our fleet.
Yeah, that's the newest.
That's just fairly new.
But we're really happy with it. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we call it the God Hall.
It's wide open in the back, and you can get, I think, six pallets.
Yep.
Yeah. And now your other truck is an old bread truck, and it has those rails on the sides, and you have to like do a dance to get back in there. And I can't imagine doing what we did that one Saturday in that bread truck.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I'd still be in traction, I think.
Oh yeah. No, we had a bread truck that was on his last leg.
We ended
up, we called it the Sara Lee. We ended up selling that pretty cheap, and then we had a Dave's van, which was the founder, Sandy.
One of the originals.
One of the originals.
It was in 1982.
1992.
Nice.
Yeah, we just got rid of that one too.
Yeah.
And so we did that in a step of faith. It's kind of how we operate. Let's just be ready then. And so we're trying to save for another one. something
Put it
even
out there.
newer.
Exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, we're looking for like like a transit, Ford style transit with the higher roofs that look like the little Amazon trucks that run around. Because they're taller, you don't have to bend over. Because a lot of our drivers
Monday
on
through
the
Friday
other day,
drivers.
Monday through Fridays, a lot of them are retired guys that still want to help, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
But I want to be fair to their backs too.
Yes.
I mean, it's when you're lifting up 40 pounds of bananas and you're hunched over, it's not a good position. And so for them to be able to stand up in the truck and be mobile.
Yeah, and it's not one pallet of bananas. It's box after box after box, and it's frozen chicken, and it's all sorts of stuff, and it is not light.
Sometimes you get a box of chips.
Yeah, right. Those are the fun days, right? No, they're all fun, but that's the cool thing is. So we're looking for like a 1 ton, a high roof transit, something that's a little newer, that doesn't have as many miles.
Maintenance, no maintenance.
Yeah,
no major maintenance.
Right, exactly. And then we've even toyed with the idea. What happens if we got like a reefer truck, one of those refrigerated unit trucks, like even one of those that had it. We saw one on Craigslist, and it was like $20-some thousand, and we're just kind of like, man, that would open another door, wouldn't it? And we're kind of like, well, then we need that walk-in cooler. It's like, so it's one of those things. So we start, we dream,
right?
And and we'll say prayers about it, but it's like, do you put the cart before the horse, or which is the horse and which is the cart?
We'd also love to have a runner van for people like Janine, who's loading her personal vehicle to take food out to Warm Beach seniors.
Yeah, and we get it because we did that with our own personal one for sure.
We still do.
Yeah, every once in a while we still do it.
Yeah.
But we did it for a couple of years until it got to too many stores, and we were taking like 3 personal vehicles, and we're like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
So
Big dream.
Yeah. Well, again, that's why I wanted to get the word out there that as awesome as you guys are doing, you still have big needs. And you have big dreams.
Yeah.
This is not the end state. I don't know what the end state is. Maybe you guys don't either. But it's wherever God is leading you to go. And but there's big needs, and there's people out there that can help. And so if you feel led, this is such an awesome opportunity to fulfill dreams, to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think someday I also would really like a small grocery store, so people come in and shop. It doesn't have to be a Saturday, right? Is that what you're going to say?
Or a mobile grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
I like that.
Just casting dreams out there.
Yes.
Somebody might already have that. Well, somebody might already have that idea and they don't have the time or something like that, and realize there's somebody willing to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You never know. Somebody might be on the same role. That's the whole idea behind Allison's Heart is networking. So when she finds that there's a school teacher that's trying to make things work, teaching kids how to cook, and she has a really small budget, and they find out like Allison's got a giving heart, like, oh no, absolutely, we'll help you supply needs. No, they need to know how to cook. Here, take some of this.
Yeah.
So that's her heart. It's all about networking.
Yeah.
It's about working together. God's kingdom comes easily when we all work together.
Yeah.
And, when we all walk in faith and obedience. He's got plans too.
Yeah. So. Well, many hands make light load, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been very patient in God providing some specific needs that we have just in personnel. We've recently taken on Jamie Stupi, who is the assistant director.
Yeah.
And she's been a lifesaver for me and our family.
Yeah.
Just for me to be able to dedicate time to my kids.
Yeah.
I've got homeschoolers at home, and I've got a 4-year-old. And this job that I do is not something that you can write a manual for. Mm-hmm. And she literally followed me around for 3 months, just taking information out of my head. Like, this is when you get food in, you got to be thinking big picture. Mm-hmm. Where are all the places that it goes? What do I need to set aside for this location? This location, this goes out now. This is date sensitive. So there's just a lot of stuff that goes on. And we are very like-minded in that way. And so it's now I can leave and take a deep breath and rest and know that they're being taken care of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I'd love to have somebody that's good with websites and social media.
Yeah.
We need some flexible drivers, some drivers to help take on some of the load.
Yeah, some people, it's a Seattle area is just with the industry, people have different days off. I mean, a lot of people have the weekend off, but there's some people that have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays or whatever. And if they want to donate, like drive a little bit or something, a couple hours in the morning, like we are totally here
rewarding.
to do that. It's super rewarding.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of our volunteers, he's like, thanks, I come here and I get energized. And, he turned 80. And so it's kind of funny. And then sometimes he gets really frustrated. But the whole thing is that he doesn't give up and he wants to be here. And so we try to make things work as smooth as possible. And so it's awesome, and you can see his heart, he wants to help too. And so, and if he gets energy from it, that's great.
Yeah.
So and then we have another 80-year-old volunteer. She just keeps
amazing.
Going. Yeah. So it's like, so I don't want to hear any excuse from somebody who says, God can't use me anymore. And it's like, I don't know. I've seen some pretty amazing things.
Yeah. I'm 65 and washed up.
Yeah.
Like,
nope.
No, even Dan's
we got
story,
plenty to do.
One of our main drivers, he shouldn't be here in man's eyes. He shouldn't be here, but God's kept him around and
he just donates as much as he possibly can. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're inspirations to me. I'm not 50 yet, but the point of that, like I hope 30 years down the road, I don't want to be doing the exact same thing.
You will be.
Yeah. She's going to see to it.
I have faith in that. I'm confident in that.
Well, before we close out, you read to me you've been doing some surveys of
our guests.
Yeah, of your guests, and so you can obviously. Your goal, I would think, would be to how can we do things better? Do you have suggestions for us? But they're also telling you stories.
Yeah.
So tell us a couple of those.
Yeah, I have 2 pages of them. I won't read them all, but it's just, it's a very fast-paced piece on Saturday, and to know the impact of what you're doing and to be able to share that with their volunteers is just such an amazing thing to hear about. We're donating a couple hours of our time on a Saturday, and to see the impact of that is something that I'm excited to share.
And just so people understand, is like we don't require anything to receive the food. I just tell people there's 2 requirements. You got to breathe and eat. Looks like you qualify. Great.
Yeah.
Make sure you go home with something. And they kind of smile, because then I think it puts them I'm guessing it puts them at ease.
Yeah.
There's no shame in coming, and that's why we call it a food blessing, not a food bank. It's like if you got something tight this month, your car broke down, and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you don't know how you're gonna make it work. Well, come here. Don't drown.
Yeah.
And I know you don't qualify for food stamps right away or something like that because it's a hard month.
Yeah.
Come here. So, and that will help offset that budget where you can get your feet back under you or head towards that thing that you need to do. And like if you need a family vacation and you can't find savings, it's like, well, come pick up food for a month. That'll at least get you a road trip.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a great word for people that may be listening that are going through a hard time and would feel shame or something like that.
It's a food blessing, not a food bank. Yeah, it's come to receive God's blessing.
Nothing against food banks, because they do an amazing work as well.
They do. But it's a whole lot more than a food bank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is, and so we offer prayer. You don't have to take it. And we offer the word. It's on a piece of paper. You can crumple it up and throw it in your back seat. You don't have to read it.
Yeah, the word, the message that you type out, that you give to the volunteers, you also hand that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
To everybody in the car if they want one.
Yep.
In Spanish and English. And
and so what we provide is we want spiritual food, we want physical food, but it's not a requirement that you have to sit and listen to us, that you have to take prayer. It's the requirement is that you're breathing and you eat.
Yeah.
And you have food.
Yep. So you're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
I just want to read a couple of these, and I'll paraphrase some of them, but this one just came in last Saturday. It says, "First visit. Beyond the food, the energy of this volunteer staff has nourishment in and of itself. The single page of Psalm 23 reminder of the 17 core components of the prayer renewed a mindfulness in me. I was passing by haphazardly today, thought I came for the food of the earth. Maybe I needed the food of the soul even more. I think God chooses to bless us sometimes in the form of karma." So there's other things in here. I'm a single mom and struggling to keep food on the table. Coming here has been a lifesaver and helps me feed my child. There's others that have stated that they have, through the food blessing.
I think you should read a long one, because some of them are. Well, go ahead. Someone took the time to write it out. They're pretty moved. I'm saying that because I take the time to write on the page.
Which one is so many?
Well, and try to keep it together, because I'm tearing up just as you're reading these things.
I read them yesterday, and I was like, oh.
The first day that we put these out, I had to take my kids to an event, and I came back and I saw eight people had responded already.
Yeah.
I was sitting at the 5-minute light and on Smoky Point Boulevard there, and 172nd, and I was starting to cry.
Yeah.
I'll try and get through these. It says, we needed a way to provide food for our family when our sole provider lost his job through no fault of his own. The job loss ended up being extended nearly 3 years. When we were back to full-time work, we were excited about getting back on our feet again. COVID hit 3 months later, and suddenly grocery prices went through the roof along with everything else. Trying to make ends meet while managing medical disabilities and feeding 3 hungry teens feels like a real feat these days. The only way we can make it is with the help of groups like Salt of the Earth. What I really appreciate is the ability to quickly shop for what I need in the quantities I need for my family so that nothing goes to waste. I also appreciate that I am allowed to maintain my dignity. Sorry. While shopping by just being allowed to be blessed by others in such a meaningful and necessary way. I'm so grateful for your ministry. It's brought our family a sense of peace and a feeling of stability, as well as generosity of heart to our home when I'm able to joyfully encourage my children to eat up instead of worrying that they are eating up. I know that our story right now is only a season in our lives, and that one day it will be me standing behind the giving table instead of in front of it. I look forward to that day. Can't read through my tears. Thank you for helping our family to close the ends of the circle today. I am grateful.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of our, so each one of our experiences are a little different. Like I said, Saturdays is drive-through, Thursdays is a drive-through, Tuesday's a shopping day. So it depends where you go. And so she obviously goes to one of those.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
A couple of the others is that they're able to actually have people
You want
over.
me to read one?
They have
I
enough
might make it
food
through.
to like have company over and have fellowship.
You want me to read this one?
Another one,
They've never been able to invite guests over to their
they
house.
don't have enough food for
That's
their
this one
family,
right here.
really.
Let me read this one.
Okay.
I'll read it a little faster. This food blessing ministry has been such a huge help to our family the past few years. My husband lost his job during the pandemic, and I literally don't know what we would have done if it had not been for these food ministries where we were able to get food for our family of 7. It was a huge weight off my husband's shoulders, knowing we could have food for our family, even when he couldn't provide income for our family. Every week, we have been blown away by the provision the Lord has provided through these ministries. We have been able to share with others, feel that we could have people in our home and share the food with them while enjoying their company. Thank you so much for all the hard work put into this every week. The past few months has been able to, in the past few months, he has been able to get his job back, and he continues to drive and pick up food for another food ministry while our kids help him as well. It's a great opportunity to teach our kids about giving back to our community. So,
wow.
There's another family that has been able to establish an emergency fund for their family instead of having their emergency fund on a credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's big.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's big.
So, and that's what I was saying. That blessed my heart because that's what I want people to do instead of like struggling just to make ends meet. And like, well, no,
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, just come once in a while then.
Yeah.
Just to take a little pressure off or whatever. You know, like if you really feel like you need a savings, well, get $100 worth of groceries and put that $100 into savings. Start it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Never
know. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, thank you so much for. I'm just blessed being able to sit here and just listen to your story, and your guys' hearts is just incredible, and it's shown from where you were 5 years ago to how this has just blossomed since then, and it's an incredible thing. So I just want to put it out there. Also, if you want to volunteer, that's awesome. Fill out a form, soteblessings.org.
Correct.
If you want to donate money, same thing, same website.
Donation button there. Mm-hmm.
If you got a truck, bring it.
Email me.
Or if you have a need.
They'll take it.
Yeah, or if you have a need, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So very cool.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah. Well, any closing remarks? Anything that you guys want to add?
The glory is all to God.
Yep.
I mean, he's the one that we just want to keep the Holy Spirit in the driver's seat sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we trust the amount of food to him, just assuming he's going to put it back in there because that's how Dad works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we give away what we get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Amen.
Just say yes sometimes. You'd be amazed.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it because we started by saying I think there's a lot of people out there that have a dream and don't know how to get started. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's just say yes.
Steps of obedience.
Take that first step. Make those 5 lunches.
Yep, make those 5-sack lunches.
That's how I ended up in South America. I was just the guy that said yes. That's it.
Yeah.
7 years of amazingness. So,
Wow. Well, thank you two. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much,
I'm
Dave.
blessed, and I know everybody else is here listening too. So thank you, everybody, for listening to the That's God podcast, and we'll be back soon enough. Take care. God bless.
So much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.